Now don't get me wrong, that could be cool. That could be cool if you connected. If you connected, that's very cool. Because now you're beating somebody up and you're like, punch, see? Punch, punch. That's dope. I was saying punch and missing. I remember I was in a fight one time, and not only was I fighting, I was tired. No one really in movies or TV take in the tired element of a fight, because it hurts. And it takes a while to like swing the way you want to swing, and after you swing and punch air a few times, you're like you can't. Do you know what I mean? Like if you mid-fight, you're losing. I didn't know the rules of fighting, because here's the thing: when people talk about rules of fighting, it's usually like nothing in the eyes, nothing in the groin, you know. But there are rules to fighting if you're trying to show that you can fight that I broke because I didn't know them. And one of them is taking a nice, long, deep breath that you need mid-fight. If you are in a fight and y'all back up a little bit and you go, they know they got you. They know, ooh, you're cooked. If you over here, no, we were in this fight and I was dog tired and I was losing. I was tired and punched. And so even now when I'm trying to fit myself, I'm over here. Like, it's not good fighting at all, you know? And we're young, so it's like when you're kids, you're not even really hurting each other because you can't generate the right torque, you know? But I was losing so bad. I knew I didn't know how to fight when this kid did a finishing move on me. Do you know how bad you gotta be fighting for somebody to do a move that doesn't make any sense to advance on you? This is one of the most disrespectful things that's ever happened in my life. So basically, I'm over here, I'm trying to fight him off and everything. And then he had so much confidence. I was fighting so poorly that I instilled the confidence in him to come up with a finishing move. Because you could tell this wasn't a move he knew he was going to do that day. Like, this wasn't a go-to move. He literally was fighting and I was doing so bad, he had time to be like, what else? What else? And so I'm backing up because I'm trying to like catch my breath and figure out how to swing and everything. And this dude ran up, clicked his heels, and punched me in the face. No, not at all, no. That is not okay. You're not gonna click your heels at me, oh, yellow brick road attack. You can't. You gonna run up on me and 10-man cowardly lion punch me in the face. I got punched. I was still like, what did you just do? Seeing somebody, because he did with like whimsy too, and ran up and punched me in my face. I'm over here holding my eye like I finally understand gun violence. I really do. Because it's like, you can't just roll up on somebody and punch them in the face, click your heels in the air. How am I supposed to go to the doctor and tell them I got punched in the face and he clicked his heels? And you embarrassed me in front of everybody. I gotta tell the story. Even when it happened, I was like, I'm never gonna let this happen again. And then it happened again. That was a different look. It was a different fight. It was a different kid. But then this kid, you know, I had some better cardio by now. Now I wasn't as tired. I wasn't over here being like, I was more like. And this kid, he got me good, pieced me up, right? And then he loved to kick. He was good at kicking. And so he was also tall, so I couldn't get in close and everything. He knew how to keep the distance and stuff. And he saw me at my weakest and decided to, must have seen the other fight because he decided to come up with a finishing move too. But this one made me even more angry because this one just didn't even make any sense. Like he went to kick me, but first he went, and then. That doesn't even help the attack. Oh, I was furious. I was in a fight one time, and look, this is why you come to get tips on how to fight in the streets. But I didn't know this when I was fighting. Okay, so this kid also kicked me, right? And kicked me in my hip, right? Which didn't hurt, but it did move me. And when you get kicked in a fight, whether you get kicked or you get punched, no matter what happens, when you're in a fight, I didn't know this, but when you're in a fight, you cannot, under any circumstances, say ow. That will undercut your entire position, all right? As soon as you say ow, you lose it, right? So I got kicked, I was like, ow! And the way he kicked me too, because I didn't know where to put my hands, right? I didn't know, there was a lot that I didn't know about fighting. Like even when you were backing up, I didn't know you're supposed to back up like with your whole body as a unit. Like I didn't know that when you're trying to get distance, right? And you're staying on your tiptoes and you're staying bouncy, then you're supposed to back up, like back, right? I didn't know that it was like back like that. So then I went to back up and I was like, and that. That already gave me away as someone who doesn't fight. When you gallop like that, I might as well have one of those horsey sticks in between my legs. The way that I was thinking about something, I was like, all right, I gotta do something because he's doing different stuff. And so I thought to myself, okay, maybe I'll be able to pull off a finishing move right now because he kicked me in my hip, which already put my hand out here, right? So in my mind, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna come around, this is the cross, right? I'm gonna come in and just knock him clean out, cover right across the chin. He's gonna go to sleep. I'll be standing over him. Look at you now. When he wakes up, I'll be like, tell me what happened. And I was thinking all this in my head in real time. Even as I was swinging at him, I was like thinking about how I was about to knock him out. The problem is my eyes are not the best, which means my depth perception is also not great. And so on the way in, I wasn't doing what I thought I was doing. Like I thought so much about the punch without actually adjusting for the punch. So by the time I saw my fist again, it wasn't like this. It was still like this from over here. So I just sort of hit him. I just sort of like hit him in his neck like this. Honestly, by the time my fist was like back in my sideline, I was like, that's not right. And then there wasn't enough time to change it. So I just sort of clubbed him on his chin. And apparently, whether you're defending or attacking, you're not supposed to say ow. Because I did come back in like, ow. This is very bad. I'm not much of a fighter, but so much of what my ideas of fighting even are stem from wrestling. Like I loved wrestling when I was a little kid. When I was like 7 years old, wrestling was my favorite. These people were like my heroes, Huge fan of like Kevin Nash, Sting. Sting was big. Goldberg, Stone Cold, Steve Austin. I was young and I was watching every week. I was watching religiously. Just these people were incredible. They put on such incredible shows, and they had like these mind-blowing physiques, and they were doing all these stunts. They were picking each other up and throwing each other like they all didn't weigh 300 pounds. I was even a huge fan of Hulk Hogan. Look, we didn't know back then, all right? 7, all right? I was 7 years old. I was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan. And look, these are important things to do. When you realize that you're wrong about something, wrong about a person, it's important that you don't just like disappear. That you can say, no, I thought something and then I learned different information. I think one of the reasons we're in the situation we're in now is because everybody digs their heels exactly where they are. Nobody budges about anything. And I can tell you honestly, that was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan, and this is embarrassing to admit, but when I was a kid, I had no concept of tanning. Tanning was. I took people at face value. And so when I was 7, Hulk Hogan was my favorite African American wrestler. People that are doing cool things you like to do that look like you, and every day I tuned in, I was like, all right. Now, I was sure Hogan was black. I was positive. You know what I mean? He had like his swag about him and everything. He was calling everybody brother. I even got the toys. I even got the toys. I remember my first toy, my first wrestling toy was a Kevin Nash action figure. You know, and then I got Sting. Sting even came with his hand so they could curl, so you could put a bat in his hand that came with the set. Goldberg. I even got a Hulk Hogan toy. When I got the toy, admittedly, I wasn't deterred from the idea that he was black because I was used to dollar store toys where they, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? I've talked about this before, that like those dollar store toys, you know what I mean? Sometimes they don't come like they should, you know, like, or they don't have the right, like they don't have the rights to make a Superman toy, so they make a Man-Man. No, yeah, if you weren't up on that Man-Man, you gotta get that Man-Man toy. Man-Man was great. He was clearly like 3 different action figures put together of stuff that didn't sell from China. Had like a Superman head and had a He-Man body. Had the feet of a horse. But yeah, I got my Hulk Hogan toy, and I just thought to myself, like, oh, they didn't even finish painting them. They didn't even, like, I'm sure he upset. I mean, over here, this is shoddy workmanship. They didn't finish at all. And look, there are, at least as I see it, 3 different eras of the internet. There's that first early internet where you have to know a lot on your own. People were figuring out the internet with it, you know? Like, if you wanted to do something, you had to really know how to code, or you had to be able to get into a system yourself to get the result that you wanted. And then we entered another era of the internet where it became a little bit more user-friendly. Things were just easier. And that navigating, like all search, all these things became easier and became more a part of our lives. And now you fast forward to the present time that we're in, where the the computers and the internet at large are like completely intuitive. Like they're doing things for you that you don't even really think to ask for, you know? Probably to our detriment a bit, you know? Like the way that things are so easy that you don't just have autocorrect now, you have like predictive text trying to finish your thought as you're typing and everything. And in all three eras of that internet, it seems like Hulk Hogan had a leak tape of him saying the N-word. Like, it's just a lot of N-word instances for one person. You know what I mean? We haven't caught Tucker Carlson yet, but we got Hulk Hogan. This is crazy. And admittedly, I remember when that first one dropped, and people were up in arms, and you would think, you know, obviously me being a little black boy, especially from the South, and hearing this ugly word in so many different settings, you know, you would think that me hearing one hero say something like that would destroy me. You know? Here's this dude saying the ugliest thing that I've heard, you know, before I even understood it. And admittedly, at the time, this tape comes out, and I'm still young, and so I was like, he's black, yo, he's... And then later, it happened again. I actually found out that Hulk Hogan was white. I was devastated. I was absolutely distraught. I sat there thinking to myself, like, he pretended to be black all of these years. This is unacceptable. Because they have this documentary series on Netflix that came out about Hulk Hogan, tracks his career and stuff like that. And the thing that I find most interesting about Hulk Hogan is that his trajectory, his story, feels so deeply American. Like every part of it. And it actually feels American in the way that we as a country are experiencing life on the world stage right now. You know? It does. Like Hulk even fought around. Like he fought the Iron Sheik. But it's true because, you know, I know that, like, there's Hulk Hogan, and then there's Terry. It's Hulk Hogan's real name. It's a tough thing as a child to find out your hero named Terry. It really makes you question your discernment as a child. Never mind you accidentally think he's black, but Terry... Do you know what I mean? Like, just look, I'm sure, with respect to Terrys, all right? I'm sure there have been Terrys that have been heroes in life, okay? But Terry... It just doesn't sound like the name you scream when somebody's gonna get up and win a fight. If I'm screaming Terry watching a fight, it's Terry, stay down. Terry, no, be still, Terry. Terry, tap out, he's doing his finishing move, Terry. Yeah, there's Hulk Hogan, and then there's Terry. And people saw a lot less of Terry. Even his family said that eventually, when you're with any of these wrestlers, there's just a little bit of them that slips away. It feels like they're performing all the time. You know, especially, I imagine now. I imagine if you're a wrestler now, it's completely different. At least back in the day, you knew when you were going to be on TV and you knew when you were going to be at home. And now, because everyone has a TV in their pocket, you kind of have to be in character all the time if you want to maintain this character. You can't really let that mask slip. And so there's Hulk, and then there's Terry. Just like there is the American dream, and then there's reality. Because the dream is fire. The dream is very cool. This dream that we have, I'll go ahead and say, nothing like it. Nothing like it anywhere else. I don't know of another place that people go to achieve that country's promised dream. Then there's reality, which is a stark difference. At least Hulk Hogan and Terry are the same size. You see the American dream, and then you see reality, and you don't even recognize one from the other. It's just a terrifying juxtaposition, because you have people that will fight tooth and nail just to set foot on the soil and have a chance to start a life that is that dream. And then you have the reality that even if you, by chance, by luck, were born here, you don't have to climb, you don't have to crawl, you don't have to swim, you don't have to fight, you don't have to barter, you don't have to beg to get over here. You're already here. And then you look around and you're like, this feels like a poor country. I don't know. I'm not the only one not doing well. It's kind of everybody. When I was a little kid, there was a child who made it to the U.S. from Cuba on a raft. And there was this whole debate, like political debate, but also like a genuine moral debate of if someone is willing to do what is tantamount to the Olympics to get here, should they have a place? Should we take someone in? Isn't that the whole Statue of Liberty thing? Like, should we take somebody in if they are fighting tooth and nail to get here, and they do more than any of us as citizens have ever had to do to gain the ability for a chance at life here? And so you had some people that were saying, no, look, there's a process. You have to do it the right way. You got to send this kid back, right? And then there were people saying, absolutely, you have to take people in. There are people in need, and we have more than enough, at least as a country. At least as a country, we're the richest country in the world. We have more than enough. We should be able to find some resource to help you out. And then there were people like me at that time. I was also a kid. And I was like, he doesn't know it's pretty bad over here. Like, it's actually... As a citizen, I have 4 news about my life so far. Now, I think that's one of the reasons we turn to like entertainers and that escapism for an ideal about ourselves, because at least there it's a little bit easier to feel like that thing is real. Everything that Hulk Hogan went through to become Hulk Hogan and to become the heavyweight champion was like an American dream. You know, he didn't grow up with money. He had to fight. He had to break his body. He had to be given chances. And then he had to take every opportunity possible, even when those opportunities looked like they were slipping him by. You know, Vince McMahon gave him a choice. This is the dad senior, right? He gave him a choice. He was like, if you go do that Rocky 3 movie instead of your promo that you're supposed to do for me, you're fired. And he went and did the movie, and that was a risk, because he didn't know what Rocky 3 would do for him. Turns out it catapulted him into stardom. Taking chances is part of what America's supposed to be all about. And then he goes to absolute war with the Iron Sheik at Madison Square Garden. He wins, becomes the heavyweight champion. He's everybody's hero. Even his dad who never understood why he went into wrestling, his dad said on camera how proud of him he was. Seems like that was maybe the first time that Terry had ever heard those words. He's like, I'm proud of my son. And he said, I think you did the right thing. But for years up until that point, he was like, why can't you be more like your brother? Why didn't you go to college? But it wasn't until that day, Madison Square Garden, thousands and thousands of cheering fans and watching your son in real time achieve his dream that you didn't even think was possible. How can you not look at that and say, yeah, absolutely. That's what the American dream is supposed to feel like. And the reality is very different. The reality and the truth of the matter is that these people, like Hulk Hogan, are truly one in a million. Not because of talent or grit, not because of like hard work or anything, not even because of luck. They are one in a million because the odds and the way that the deck is stacked does not work that way. You don't just get to the top by working hard. It's just not true. Hard work is an element of people who've been very successful, but I meet people every day who work incredibly hard, and they're not going to make more at their job than they're making now. You know, I've been there. I've worked at restaurants where I've worked as hard as I could, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I guess it was worth $36. You know, because you're not actually rewarded according to your hard work. You're not usually rewarded according to your talent or even by merit. Half the time you're rewarded because of who you already know, through relationships, sometimes just through, you know, who your parents are. I'm not saying that's the entire way the world works. I'm just saying more of it works that way than it does the other way. And so I was watching Hulk Hogan as this kid, and I'm watching towards the tail end of his career because he's wrapping up wrestling by the time I'm becoming a wrestling fan. And I'm just proud to see, you know, a black man out there achieving his dreams. It meant a lot to me. And then you see, I don't know, you see things shift. You see things shift. Like Hulk Hogan went away from me for a long time. I didn't really keep up with him at all through the years. I only really heard about Hulk Hogan through leaked N-word tapes. But I finally saw him again a while back. He was at the RNC. And he was ripping his shirt for Donald Trump. Yeah. When I was watching it, I was like, I don't fully get why you would rip do what you want. Jeremy, there was a part of me that when I saw that happen, I didn't even have the pang of like, oh no, one of my childhood, because I had stopped liking Hulk when I found out he lied about being black. You know, if anything, I was watching him rip his shirt to the RNC and like, look, a fraud campaigning for a fraud, okay? doing stuff. We have no idea why. We're just doing things. And Hulk knew why he was wrestling Iron Sheik. If you asked him, like, what are you doing? For the world title, brother. Ask any of us why we're at war. We look like people who don't know, and we don't know. It's one thing to not know what you're talking about, but then just finesse it, or like just throw something out there, you know, and just try to get away with it. But look at Pete Hegseth. He does not look like someone who knows why he's at war. He just know he at war. Marco Rubio trying to gaslight everybody. I've told you why we're at war several times. I've told you something. This is the same stuff that like my parents would do if I asked like a good question as a kid. Whenever you ask a good question, adults be like, we already went over this. And it's like, no. My life was short so far. I remember everything that has happened, and we did not talk about this. No, you're not slick. We didn't go over this 1,000 times. We haven't. I remember. This morning was most of my life so far. Like, you're not gonna trick me. Even Trump doesn't know why we still at war. He tries to act like he does. But you notice every other post he does, the war is over. I feel like he's trying to do that until it's true. Like he can confuse Iran. Be like, we're not even over there anymore. Like Iran comes to the peace talks and he's like, y'all still talking about old stuff. I've moved on. I don't even... No, because this is bad. This is bad. This is very bad. It's very, very bad. I watch the news and have the opposite feelings. You know, I used to watch wrestling and wish it was real. No, and it's even crazier that Trump is involved with both. Jeremy, like he's on the news all the time, but he was in WWE, he's in the Hall of Fame. This dude took everything he learned from wrestling and put it into politics. And now we're over here paying the price. That was one of the goofiest timelines I've ever seen. This doesn't make any sense at all. Man, this is bad. What are we gonna do this? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's do it. The thing that I think also happened with Hulk is apparently he was a very bad sport about ever putting someone else over. And in wrestling, putting someone over means like letting them win the match and then doing it in a way that looks convincing, like making them look really good. You know, like he had that epic, one of the best wrestling matches of all time with The Rock. And in that one, The Rock won. And look, maybe Hulk was happy to do it, I don't know. But apparently, throughout his career, he really didn't want to put someone else over. I feel like we are in the same predicament as a country. All we ever want to be is number one. We think of ourselves as number one, even people who have to travel. That does blow my mind. Whenever people are like, this is the best country in the world, I'm like, where else have you been? They're like, Nebraska. Like, what are you doing? You don't get to say that unless you've been to at least one other place. You don't know. The thing that's so frustrating about where we are, especially right now, is that the mask is sort of off, and they've already told you that all the money that they have is going to be used to destroy other people's lives instead of improve yours. You know, because you could have a better quality of life, and everything that you want, we're going to spend to make sure someone else doesn't have it. So I guess there's that. Number one in so many different things, got most money, got biggest military. We also like the number one in serial killers too. I don't know any country doing it the way we do it. I'm not seeing, I go to other countries and watch their Netflix, and they don't have any of the Netflix documentaries that we do about the very specific even our serial killers are running out of gimmicks to try to stand out. Yeah, I don't know anybody out here serial killing like us. Do you know what I mean? Like, every once in a while, I guess they catch somebody, but that's like a very specific type of like psychopath. We over here got people, they're just like, I don't know, I just feel like dressing up like a doll and killing everybody. It's like we have a very specific type of thing happening here I don't see anywhere else. No. Number one. It's our obsession, because if we're not number one, then who are we? Most of what we're doing right now is to stay number one. We will be number one at all costs, no matter what it does to us, to our reputation, to the rest of the world. We will be number one. In fact, if we can't be number one, we'll just crash the entire world. And it just kind of feels the same as, you know, Hulk Hogan never wanted to put somebody over. It's like, and for a little while that didn't bother me. It didn't. Like, seeing Hulk always win, even though clearly the other person was like a better wrestler, or I even liked them a little bit more. But I gave like Hulk a pass, and I was like, he's a black man out here trying to do his thing. But some people look around now and they don't even recognize their country. And look, you can make a very fair point that what they even thought they were seeing in the first place wasn't actually what was happening. That was part of the character, the facade of what America was, because it's something different to everybody. But when you look around the world, it's not the way that it was. I travel a good bit, and whenever I tell people I live here, they're always like, oh. You know? And so it's a hard thing to contend with. Because you look at someone like Hulk, right? And Hulk would be in all these commercials, once again, cartoons, he'd do all these events for kids and everything, and he would even say to them on TV and in person, you want to be like the Hulkster, you work hard, say your prayers, and take your vitamins. And even as a kid, I was like, vitamins? Vitamins. Sir. Vitamins. Look, I take my vitamins every day. I take my Flintstone vitamins every single day, and I'm not seeing your type of gain, sir. Sometimes I sneak a second one. Sometimes I have Barney and I have Fred in the morning. Still not, I'll look up. No, it's not. Vitamins. That was, that's a tough one. You know, I'm ready to OD on Flintstone vitamins. Trying to be just like Hulk Hogan. And then there's the scandal over that. I don't know if you remember that, but that was huge. There was even a court case about it. Vince McMahon was on trial. Hulk Hogan was out here going on Arsenio Hall saying that he had never taken steroids at all. He just, he
he's like, the only time I took steroids was prescribed by a doctor in my surgery. I don't take steroids. I don't do that stuff. And then at the America, the whole country, everybody watching Arsenio Hall, and everybody that heard about it was like, huh? Come on, Hulk. Vitamins. But then there was this big scandal because he admitted that he did take steroids eventually, and I think a lot of people, myself included, were like, duh. But there was also some genuine hurt there because once again, this guy said, if you want to be like me, all you gotta do is work hard, say your prayers, and take your vitamins. And I've been skinny all my life, but that was one point where I was like, I've been sneaking these vitamins and doing these push-ups. Man, a lot of people were like confused and hurt by that. But once again, a character can be perfect, a person can't be. A character can make all the right moves and justify everything for the sake of the story, and reality just doesn't work that way. But it is a wild thing that Hogan died before Trump. That's surprising. That's very surprising. Come on now. A dude who worked out every day. I understand he took steroids. I get the steroids are, they grow all your muscles and your heart is a muscle and you get complicated. I understand. I also understand that he wrestled and he took a bunch of pain medication stuff. Like there are complications in there, but also, come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I were Fate and I took a bet, and because the bet I had to take Hulk Hogan first, I'd be like, that doesn't make sense. Like, that. Come on now. No, that's wild. I understand he took steroids and he didn't have the healthiest lifestyle, did some drugs and stuff like that, but also, this man full of fried chicken. This man, at any given point, I've never seen a picture or video of Trump where he didn't look like he just finished a fried chicken. I'm telling you right now, sometimes I just see crumbs. Y'all know you see these crumbs. Sometimes I see a couple crumbs, I'm like, what is that? That's either, now I understand tanning, now I know what tanning is, so that's either skin coming off, or it's crumbs. We got a president with crumbs on him all the time. Every time I see Trump, he looks like he finished a snack. He's full of crumbs. We have a crummy president. This man is covered in crumbs. At best it's dandruff, but I think it's crumbs. No, I know crumbs when I see them. Yeah, no, it's weird. It's very weird. Because it doesn't even feel like Hulk is gone in a way. Not really. Like, I don't know. Just any day now I expect another tape to come out. And I said another tape guy and be like, listen, brother, well, that's not the type of language you use over here anymore.